The Gloriana set by ThebeMoon. Read by LMX Mabella. Chapter 46. Charms Again. Hermione's heart was pounding as she picked through the rubble towards the cracked stoneyard. Last time she was outside the old charms classroom, she was running from Draco, wand in hand. Now she was walking straight into his coils. She truly had no sense at all. She found him once again lying on the teacher's desk, his long legs hanging off the edge, drawing on the ceiling with his wand. Hermione looked around the familiar room, the warm glow of the lamps, the long tables, the shelves stuffed with books and knickknacks. Her rune writings were still on the blackboard, the white lines trailing off crookedly. "Have you been thinking of me?" The smell of chalk brought back the feel of his body, his voice in her ear. "Admit it, Granger. You want me." Draco sat up on the desk, the movement startling her. "You're late," he said. "Yes, I know." Hermione felt suddenly awkward. "Ernie's planning an inter-house Quidditch match for Dumbledore's birthday, and he—" "You're helping him with that daft plan?" Hermione sniffed. "I suggested an inter-house quiz game. At least we were spared that." "Quiz games are fun and educational," Hermione said. Draco ignored this, his eyes raking her up and down. "Come here," he said softly. Hermione stepped forward, then halted a few feet away, crossed her arms, and tilted her head. "What would I get if I added powdered root of asphodel to an infusion of wormwood?" she asked. Draco blinked. "You'd create a draught of living death." Hermione took another step forward, arms still crossed, looking at him challengingly, and Draco's lips quirked. "What laws explain the conjuration of a frog-rabbit hybrid?" Her face heated slightly, but her voice was steady. "The principles of artificial-animate quasi-dominance," Draco answered promptly. Hermione moved closer. She was only one step away now. With him sitting on the desk, they were nearly eye level. "Why did you show me the codex?" she asked. She really wanted to know. Had asked this question before in this very room. They had been little better than enemies then. Why did he bring the codex and runestone to her, extending that thin olive branch? Draco became very still. "When we began speaking outside ancient runes," he finally said, "for the first time in my life I wanted to share." "With me?" He rolled his eyes. "Who else?" "It's pleasant to be right," Hermione said, taking that last step. "Quiz games are fun and educational." "Oh, I'm still waiting for my prize," Draco said. She reached out a trembling hand, smoothing his white blonde fringe back from his face, then leaned in to kiss him. Draco slid his arms around her, pulling her between his legs, his body hard against hers. "Mine." Her fingers went through silky hair. She broke the kiss, tugging his head back slightly to run her lips along the roughness of his pointed jaw. There was no injury or school matron this time, nothing to stop her from tracing the long muscles of his throat, lost in his warm skin. Draco gently pushed her back, causing Hermione to frown, but she understood when he began unbuttoning her sensible cardigan. "Well, well," he murmured, for underneath she wore only the green bra from Ginny. Hermione's hands were under his jumper, trying to pull it upwards, and Draco released her to strip it off. Hermione stood captivated by the sheen of lamplight on his bare skin. Then she leaned in again, and for a time they were both lost in kisses that started out warm, then grew increasingly desperate. Hermione moved to join him on the desk, hardly knowing what she was doing, just needing to be closer, and Draco pulled her onto the hard surface and rolled over her. The wood was cold on her back, and she looked up at the wizard's shadowed face, his hair backlit by a lamp. "Here we are again," Draco said. He propped himself up on one elbow, his left hand sliding a bra strap off one shoulder. Grey eyes gleamed as he looked down at her. "Once again in the old charms room, and you with your shirt off, those lovely—" "I was trying to make a point," Hermione reminded him. "You certainly did." Draco groaned softly at the memory. "Standing there, looking like a goddess, with that prim look on your face. Fuck, I almost fell to my knees, begging you to touch me." Hermione snorted lightly. "Like that would have gone over well." A smile touched his lips. "We'll never know." The smile widened.
Ever wondered what might have happened if you hadn't gotten away?
Perhaps, was all she would admit. Draco bent to whisper in her ear.
It must be on your person, Granger,
he said, his voice exactly the same as it was that night. Lips moved to hers, and Hermione gave a low moan against his kiss.
Where is my snitch, Granger?
He asked against her mouth. You must look everywhere, she breathed.
Oh, I will.
Warm hands moved over her stomach and ribs, then tucked down the other bra strap as his lips brushed across her collarbone, then lower. Single touch on her spine released the clasp, and her breasts were bare to him.
So beautiful,
Draco murmured, his mouth on her, and Hermione moaned again, hands clutching his hair. Draco, she whispered, and he looked up at her, releasing her breasts, his face so open and young. A brief flash of innocence before Astoria, before the mark, before the war, that she wanted to cry. She reached up and touched his cheek, not knowing what to say, but something must have shown on her face, because he kissed her sweetly.
I must keep looking,
he said, a hint of a smile in his voice. His hand moved up her thigh, and he paused, surprised to encounter bare skin. She was wearing thigh-high, lacy tights. Thank you, Pansy. Then his mouth was on hers again, and Hermione was lost in a taste of him, so lost she didn't notice her knickers being teased inside. Draco's fingers were on her, and she pulled her mouth away, startled.
You'll tell everyone, he whispered. You'll tell everyone you're mine. Mine alone.
Yes, she breathed. Yours alone.
She would have said anything at this point.
His lips brushed her ear.
So wet for me, Hermione, he whispered. Such a good girl you are. You deserve it all. Everything you want. You deserve to come from me, don't you? My lioness defending everyone. So good.
Continued to murmur, his voice cracking with desire, his words broken and incoherent. Hermione began to whimper, rocking against his hand. He was attacking her throat now, biting the skin, then licking it. Hermione was devoid of all thought, just feeling, hands clutching his bare back. Draco, she begged, please.
Now,
he said, and she nearly screamed, her body shaking and her walls trembling. He held her tightly, breathing heavily himself. They lay on the desk entwined together, dazed by what had just happened. His face buried in her hair, and she had her legs wrapped around him. When she came to herself again, she opened her eyes, and there was that face watching her a bit apprehensively, as if she would bolt out the door again. He wasn't the only one taking risks here. Draco was laying it all on the line, rejecting his family and turning to the Wizarding World's most notorious Muggleborn. He brushed shaky fingers against his lips, and he kissed them lightly before rolling away slightly.
I'm going to take you in every possible way on this desk,
he said serenely, as if it was the only plausible use for this piece of furniture. He looked at the wooden surface with a measuring eye.
Hermione frowned. You didn't bring their list. But not tonight, Draco said.
No? Hermione said, blinking up at him. He chuckled and sat up, drawing her up as well.
Meet me again tomorrow night.
Here? Hermione asked, still stammering a bit. Draco had pulled her onto his lap.
No, not here.
Draco's fingers trailed down her bare spine, making her shiver.
You'll have to discover where. You seem to have a way of finding people.
He was of course right. You can't hide from me, she said.
We'll see,
he murmured, and she could feel a rough palm on her breast. Why aren't we here tonight? She asked, her eyes sliding shut.
Because,
he said a bit smugly,
I wanted you here.
Brat, she said without heat. She felt boneless, her eyelids too heavy to open, her head on his shoulder. It felt strange being so quietly intimate with a man, especially this one. With Ron, there were moments where stolen trysts, rushed and panting, trying to elude the ever-prowling Molly Weasley. Arthur's shack was the only good place, since Molly refused to set foot in it, but it hadn't been a place to linger topless and talk. She could imagine Ron just sitting around half-naked and chatting away. Draco, on the other hand, always seemed to have all the time in the world. There had always been a timeless quality to their moments together, on the sofa at the Gryffindor party, the dance at Starclub, the scene in Starquan's office. He continued to stroke her back.
"Apertus sum," he whispered.
"I am open." Hermione looked up into grey eyes shining like the crystal pebbles from Bluebell's glass. She smiled. "Tomorrow night will be nice," she murmured, "with all the exams finished." "Exams!" She stiffened. "I have 3 exams tomorrow morning." "Yes, and I'm sure you'll do wonderfully," murmured Draco into her throat. "But I haven't reviewed the sentient and non-sentient chapter in Transfiguration, and... oh no!" Hermione swung her legs off the edge of the desk. "My flashcards!" "Your what?" Draco sat up as well. "Where are you going?" Hermione had found her bra and was scrabbling around for her cardigan. "I made 20 flashcards on human to animal transfiguration, and I haven't reviewed any of them. The size-to-size differentials are very tricky." "Oh, come on now." Draco scoffed, trying to capture her hand, but Hermione had fastened her bra and was picking up her cardigan. "And I haven't reviewed my Ptolemaic systems." Draco was frowning now. "Hermione, haven't you already used a very valuable snitch as some sort of nefarious study aid for that very purpose?" His grammar was getting a little intricate, so Hermione tried to soothe him with a quick kiss as she buttoned her cardigan. "Yes, but that was a Jupiter-based system. The regular formulas are Earth-based." Draco sighed, but reluctantly retrieved his own jumper and pulled it over his head. Fine, but I don't want to hear any of this piffle tomorrow night." "Of course not," she said, kissing him again. "I'm all yours after a little porn." Draco sighed again. "I wish that wasn't meant the way it sounded." He cheered up a little after she'd buttoned her cardigan and pronounced herself ready to leave, not bothering to hide his amusement. "Really, Granger," he sneered lightly, "try to show a little decorum." Hermione pulled at her ponytail, grumbling. "Just because 3 strokes of your fingers in your hair looks perfect." The response was a throaty chuckle as he ran his hand over her curl. "There, that's better," he said, giving one curl over her ear a tweak. She looked at him suspiciously. "You just made it worse, didn't you?" Draco just smiled mockingly as he waved her towards the door. "Ladies first." "Well, don't you look deliciously rumbled?" Ginny said in a lower voice as Hermione entered the Gryffindor common room and joined her and Neville on the sofa. "Can I assume you 2 are now?" "Yes," Hermione murmured, trying to discreetly straighten her skirt. Draco had pulled her into 3 alcoves while walking her back to Gryffindor Tower. She was lucky she wasn't topless. "But I'd rather not spread it around. I have to talk to Harry and Ron, and he has to write his mother." "It's a toss which side will kick up nastier," Neville said. "Are you seeing him tomorrow night?" Ginny asked. "Blaise and I are having drinks in Hogsmeade. You should both come." Her smile widened. "Nephew could bring Pansy." Neville flushed slightly. "I don't think we're ready for that." "Thank you, Ginny," Hermione said, pulling at her tights. "But I'm meeting Draco." "Someplace secret, Ginny asked wickedly. "Do tell." "I couldn't if I wanted to," Hermione said. "He wants me to find him." Ginny's eyes lit up. "Ooh, a scavenger hunt. You'll track him down and capture—" "I really don't want to hear any of this," Neville said. Hermione sniffed as she tugged at her skirt again. Neville was awfully queasy for someone who'd recently broadcasted his own going-ons to the entire divination corridor. She caught sight of Ginny's open arithmancy book and groaned. "My study schedules are a disaster," she said. "I need 2 hours tonight to review for exams." Ginny was still grinning. "Don't tell me you cut short a snuggling session for—" "I can't function with my study guides in disarray," Hermione cried, "and I've completely neglected my porn." A few passing fourth-year boys stopped and stared. "Perhaps some visual aids would help," Ginny said loudly. "And explicit instructions." Neville groaned. "What's wrong with them?" Hermione asked, tilting her head toward the now open-mouthed boys. "Nothing," Ginny said, leaning forward to pet her hand. "I'm proud of you not letting a few orgasms compromise your education." "Hello? Still here?" Neville objected. "I can't imagine why," Hermione told him. "You know how she gets." "What's the problem?" Ginny wanted to know. "We're all dating Slytherins now. We can compare notes. In fact, Hermione." Her dark eyes shone. "You could take notes tomorrow night, and we could review then." "I am not taking notes," Hermione snapped, tamping down a faint quiver of interest at the idea. "Private notes, perhaps."
And I'm not reviewing them, Neville said, standing. I'm going to bed. He gathered his books, still flushing slightly, and stalked off without another word. Ginny watched him go, smiling evilly, then turned back to Hermione. Come on, she said, gathering her own books. Then she grabbed Hermione's hand. What is it? Hermione asked nervously, as Ginny carried her up the stairs to their bedroom. I have to study. Oh, yes, Ginny said, her smile widening. But first you're telling me everything. To be continued. Next up, Draco writes another letter. Hermione takes her exams. Draco and Neville fight over Astoria. Thank you for listening to this chapter of the Gloriana set by ThebeMoon. If you would like to stay up to date on upcoming chapters and stories, you can follow me on AO3, Spotify, or YouTube.